Yo, what is up, everybody? Welcome to the Payoff Pitch presented by Fantasy Phenom. I'm Kyle. That's Mike. Here to break down tomorrow's, or today's, depending on when you're listening, 9-game MLB slate.
Yes, sir. The slate of 6/12. Like you said, 9-game Monday. Kind of a travel day for some of the teams, so it's going to be nice. It's been a good week, man. I know it was a good weekend, but it rounded out a really nice week. And, yeah, I'm excited, man. We're kind of hitting a stride, I feel like, as far as the season is going. The sample sizes are getting to be reliable in a sense. And it's just like anything else. The more you practice, the better you get, right?
Facts. So, dude, today ended a really good week for me. So, to recap again where Vegas was today, Vegas had some sharp action. It wasn't a ton, so I didn't put too much stock into it, but it had a ton of sharp action on Texas today, actually. Or, sorry, not a ton. It had sharp action on Texas, so that kind of sucked. It had an enormous amount on the Yankees. They were the chalk stack. If you didn't have them, you didn't win any money. I had them in all the early. I finished with a lineup of 231 in the early, and I was so mad at myself. I super entered a double up. So on FanDuel, they have the 150 entry double ups, and so yeah, I entered that 50 times, and so I won a good amount of money using it, but I was mad that I didn't enter it into GPP because it would have finished first in a $10 GPP I was in. Is okay.
Yeah, it happens to everybody, man. I think it happens to me all the time in the free roll. So, yeah, I mean, again, it's just it's a war, not a battle. So, any cash is good cash. I think. Just to recap the slate, the main slate was the early slate, and so because I work on the weekends, I generally don't play much on Sundays because I never really know where I'm going to be at locked. So I try to not throw money away. So I keep it a little light. Top 3 scoring pitchers on the earliest slate on DraftKings were Seth Lugo, Ivan Nova, and Jaime Garcia. So interestingly enough, 2 pitchers in the same game were made up 2 of the 3 highest scoring pitchers on the slate. Don't happen very often, especially not in that park. So good luck if you had those 2 guys on DraftKings. I'm sure that was very contrarian. And like I said, man, the Yankees are, I mean, I had high expectations, but, I mean, damn. What's going on, man? I mean, you want to talk about Aaron Judge for a second?
No.
I mean, I think we kind of have to. I mean, he's doing something that no one has ever done before.
Right. Barry Bonds?
No, I don't think Barry Bonds ever did this before. Babe Ruth didn't do this before.
Barry Bonds is the GOAT, Mike, next to LeBron James.
So, I mean, he hit the longest recorded home run today since they started doing it in 2008. What do you think this guy's ceiling is? I mean, it's his rookie year. He's leading all 3 Triple Crown categories right now. I mean, can it happen?
No, Aaron Judge is not I don't think he'll finish in the top in average. RBIs and home runs maybe, but he won't finish in the top in average.
It's fair. I'm just saying, as of right now, June 11th, he is. So he is a rookie as well, and leading the league and leading the All-Star score voting. So people are taking notice.
Did you watch the 2001 World Series, Mike?
Of course I did.
Do you remember the ball that Barry Bonds hit?
2001 World Series, Barry Bonds was not in, so
you're a liar.
I think you're mistaken. So the 2001 World Series was between the Diamondbacks and the Yankees.
You're right. 2003 2002. I'm sorry, with the Angels and Giants.
Okay, yeah.
Do you remember the ball Barry Bonds hit?
Yes.
That went long. That went over 500 feet.
Maybe it was a regular season game then.
It was.
I saw the stat today. So I'm just saying, I saw a stat today. It was the longest recorded home run.
Well, since 2008, this was 2002. Just saying. I can't give these Yankees the credit. I'm sorry. Barry Bonds hit a longer home run.
I mean, you can pick and choose, man. I'm just trying to talk about Aaron Judge. It's unreal what he's doing.
No, I'm with you.
The world will be bowing soon.
Okay, let's calm down. Um, God, I hate Yankee fans.
I mean, the dude's a nice guy too. It's like this guy is built for baseball. He's gonna be a star, man. I'm telling you.
You talk to him a lot?
I mean, I watch enough Yankees footage and interviews and to know that when someone has got a head on his shoulders and when someone doesn't.
Oh my goodness. Barry Bonds had a head on his shoulders. I don't know if you saw it, but it was quite a head.
Yeah, he was no Aaron Judge when it came with the media.
Barry Bonds, never mind. Anyway, so to get back to Vegas, so Yankees, they were right there. There was some sharp action on the White Sox. That one didn't turn out as planned. I had a White Sox stack. However, Quintana was not a terrible play.
Nah.
Action on the Rays, they won. Action on the Pirates, they won. Action on the Braves, they lost. Action on the Angels, they won. Action on the over in the Phillies-Cardinals game, that happened. Sharp action on the Cubs. They were chalk. They won. As I mentioned, a little action on the Rangers. They won. Sharp action on the over in Arizona, and also action on the Brewers. So they got 50% of that right. Brewers did not win, but that score did go over. Action on the under in the Blue Jays-Mariners game. That happened. And enormous amounts of money on the Detroit Tigers and the over in that game, which I parlayed at the end of the night, and that won. So that was a nice turnaround.
Yeah, good deal, man. I mean, obviously, you think you could, from what you just laid out there, I think you can probably go 50-50 with what was seemingly easy to predict and what was seemingly like wow, that's surprising.
Well, I think it's useful. It's okay. So, again, how I'm using this is it can help you find stacks, right? So where I'm looking at the sharp money on the over-unders to find some stacks, and then the sharp money on teams that are sneaky stacks. So I stacked the Pirates today. Didn't work out too well. I stacked the Phillies today. That did work. I cashed in that GPP. I didn't win it, but I cashed. And I stacked the White Sox, hoping that would work. That didn't work. So I was one of three using that strategy. However, looking at the obvious plays, it told me to stack the Yankees, but common sense should have told you that. And then I stacked some Rays, notably Malik Smith and Corey Dickerson and Logan Morrison. That turned out okay. I cashed in that as well. So...
Yeah, so I mean, today's main slate wasn't really full of prospective great pitching options, and I think we're at it again here today with this 9-game main on Monday. There's not really a whole lot of pitching options that are jumping out at me when you look at this player pool. What are you thinking off the bat here? Is there anything that's jumping out at you before we dive in?
Yeah, Steven Strasburg. That's a lock already. I'm not even getting off that.
Okay, so there's one. I don't even think that. I mean,
you don't think Steven Strasburg is a lock against the Braves in Washington?
At his price on DraftKings, I think he's the only guy that you look at and you're like, yeah, that's a good play. So when you think about that, I mean, and you're playing in different formats on DraftKings, obviously, and he's the only guy that looks good. I mean, you're gonna have to come to a decision. Do you fight the ownership or do you jump on the bus?
To be honest with you, Mike, I don't fade Strasburg tomorrow. I'll have him in 100% of my lines as of right now. Facts.
I'm not saying you do. I'm just saying you're going to have to make that decision in GPPs.
I think you can differentiate yourself. Differentiate yourself with the bats.
Pitchers, man, I think it's a solid decision not to.
That's what I'm saying. Differentiate yourself with bats. Don't try and get cute tomorrow and differentiate with pitching. If you have Strasburg, he's not going to hurt you because those should be high owned. So find the bats, the value bats that'll differentiate you. Don't try and get cute with your pitching.
Yeah, no, I think that's a common theme. I like to try and find 3 pitchers. I mean, obviously you need 2 on DraftKings, and if you're building multiple lineups, I don't like to go all in ever. on 2 pitchers, so I like to have at least 3 just in case. I mean, anything can happen, right?
That's fair. I mean, to be honest with you, going all in on a pitcher is a strategy I actually commonly use. I did it with Scherzer today. I did it with Archer in the early, and I did it with Lamet in the main. Or I'm sorry, in the late. So I had 3 pitchers, 1 in each slate, and I ran them all 100%, and I had a good day. So
I like to hedge. I mean, I like to hedge my bet. I mean, I like to at least cash somewhere if my pitcher bombs.
see, I think you can do that with
That's
your
why I
bats,
do that.
though. I think you can do that with your bats. So, like for example, in the main slate, I hedged. I had a Milwaukee stack, didn't cash, but I had a Dodger stack and a Red stack, and those all cashed. So, regardless of how my pitcher did, even though Robbie Ray far outperformed Scherzer for his price, and it allowed you to get a lot more expensive bats, I got the right bats in Mesoraco, who was cheap. I got Schebler, who was cheap, right? So, again, I think you can hedge your bets with bats instead of pitching. I don't know. I'm very comfortable, unless I really like a guy that's low priced, I'm really comfortable just paying up for pitching, and I'll hedge with my stacks.
Mm-hmm. So you're saying, like, you have a player pool, right? And you have everything narrowed down with your bats. Say you're making 4 lineups, you're using your player pool for those 4 lineups, and then with your 5th lineup, you're picking, completely different batters to hedge against your other lineups, right?
No. So let me break it down. So I'll tell you, I had 5 lineups in the late today, right? I'm sorry, in the late, not the two game slate, but the 5 game. All 5 had Max Scherzer. The first one had a Washington stack, cheap stack, so the cheap bats, and an Arizona stack. That cashed with Arizona, right? I had a Red stack and a Seattle stack. That literally hit the cash line. I had a Brewers stack and a Dodgers stack. That did not cash because the Brewers didn't do anything. So even though the Dodgers did enough, they were kind of chalky. It didn't cash. I then had a 3-man Reds, a 4-man Dodgers, and Brian Goodwin is a one-off. That cashed. And then I absolutely destroyed with a 4-man Dodger, 4-man Red stack. So I just differentiate stacks throughout.
Yeah, so what you're saying is your batter player pool is way more wide than mine would be. Like, I like to keep it much more fine than to play all over the place like that. I don't know. I just don't like to pick. I like to kind of find my favorites and then kind of pick and choose bats off those couple teams.
That's fair. See, so you differentiate with pitching. I differentiate with bats.
As far as a hedge lineup, I don't differentiate much when it comes to building multiple lineups.
Yeah. See, I will hedge. It's in the multi-entry GPPs, I should say. So if I'm doing like the $2, like I think I love doing the $2 5-entry max. I'll build 5 lineups and I'll have 4 stacks and I'll differentiate the combinations of each.
Mm-hmm. That makes sense. I mean, I guess what I've been doing is, like I said, picking 3 pitchers. I'll figure out which combination I like the best. I'll put most of my, my exposure to those 2 pitchers, and then I'll have the 3rd pitcher. Say it's like a high-priced option, 2 mid-priced options. I'll go the high and 1 mid, the high and the other mid, and then both mids.
Okay. So I mean, again, this could also come down to the fact that you're on DK and I'm on FanDuel. So.
Yeah, 100%.
So it is a very different strategy. It's a different roster building strategy. You have dual positions. You have to pick 2 pitchers, etc. So depending on your sport. And I think, again, I really don't think there's a right or a wrong strategy. Me and Mike both had a really profitable week. So it's preference, right? It's personal preference. There's no right. There's no wrong. It's what works for you. I think regardless of what plays you pick, if you get the right plays, no matter how different they are per line, you can cash. So it's just a matter of finding your own strategy.
Yeah, I've been seeing like you need like probably 3 homers in your line on a GPP to really make some money, at least. So that's something else I've noticed.
That's fair. All right, so let's jump into tomorrow. We were talking about Strasburg. I mentioned that I'm probably going to have him 100% right now. Again, this is preliminary. As I mentioned last night, some things change. So we'll see where I'm at tomorrow. I'll have a lot of time between now and lock, so things could change. But initial thoughts, I'm looking at Strasburg versus Atlanta Braves team. Away from Atlanta, I don't see the same firepower in the lineup. So
Yeah, it's pretty fair. I mean, obviously Strasburg, what he's done versus Atlanta, 6 starts I think since the start of 2016. You can't really find a bad start in there. What I'm curious, what is his price difference? I mean, what are the price differences between him and DeGrom tomorrow on FanDuel?
Strasburg is 11.4. DeGrom is 9.7, I believe. 9.7, yep.
So,
And he's 10-2
enough.
on DraftKings and 12.7 on FanDuel. Or I'm sorry, DraftKings for Strasburg. So 1,500,
Yeah,
no, 2,500 on DraftKings and 1,200 on FanDuel.
so a big price difference on both sides, enough to make me feel like Strasburg is going to be high owned on both sides tomorrow. I could see possibly if DeGrom was around the same price range, but at the same time, 12.7 is very expensive. If you want to pay up for 2 pitchers on DraftKings, which is a strategy that I recommend,
You can't do that.
you are looking at trying to find some cheap. You're gonna have to punt.
You're
multiple
probably
positions.
going to be playing some Cliff Pennington.
Well, we'll see. Value obviously may open up when lineups come out. So I always kind of wait until lineups come out before I really dive into roster construction, because especially if you pay up for 2 pitchers and there's a guy at 12.7, you're gonna really need some value before you even decide what your exposure level is gonna be to Strasburg.
Yeah, actually, that's true. I just said you can't do that. Josh actually made that point today. The winning lineup on DK had Robbie Ray and Max Scherzer and whatever bats you could fit. Those two just blew away everything. So
Yeah. No, I mean, it's a better bet. Betting on the pitchers is a better bet, but you're going to have to hit on, like I said, say you have to punt 2 guys tomorrow, you're going to have to hit on one of those guys. You can't just throw zeros on your lineup. And I mean, it works. Obviously, we know punts do their thing, man, and that is how you take down GPPs.
facts. Would you play any Atlanta bats? Like, is there any reason not to play Strasburg tomorrow other than his price?
Ownership and price. Yeah, that's it. And if there's no value, then price is more of a problem.
But in terms of matchup, you're not worried.
Yeah, I'm not stacking against Strasburg at all. No, I think he's got enough of a pedigree against Atlanta to show that this is a good matchup. Double-digit strikeouts in both starts against them this year. Like you said, this is in Washington. Again, and I'm not trying to stack against Strasburg by any means. I mean, if you wanted to do ownership pivot, which I could see it. I think you just stick with their best players, NCR, Danny Kemp. Again, just as an ownership pivot in a tournament.
Yeah, I'm not even looking at Atlanta bats. No, thank you. If Strasburg gets lit up tomorrow, then I'll die with that. Like, I'm not even to be contrarian, I'll have Atlanta. I don't think so right now. As far as stacking against Mike Foltynewicz, he's been a lot better on the road than home. Makes sense given the ballpark. This is a more pitcher-friendly park than hitter. Thank you. I'd imagine Washington has their full lineup tomorrow. You won't see Jason Worth. It'll be Brian Goodwin again.
My thing with Mike Foltynewicz, man, I mean, like you said, the home-away splits are real. He does have a quality start versus Washington this year. And then Washington just got swept versus Texas and scored 6 total runs in that series, man. So obviously not coming in on a hot streak by any means. So I don't know, man. I don't think Foltynewicz is in play, but I mean, he does show some strikeout upside. I mean, I just don't think he's the contrarian play today.
For what it's worth, Brian Goodwin is 2K again tomorrow. If he plays, I think that's worth a punt. Tampa's not on the slate, so you won't have Malik Smith. But Brian Goodwin, 2K. If he's going to be in the top 2 of that order again, in front of Bryce, Zimmerman, all them, it's worth that punt if you're trying to pay it for Strasburg. And then Wieters is only 2,500 on FanDuel. And Goodwin's still cheap on DraftKings, too. He's 2,700, so interesting.
What position does he play?
Outfield.
Yeah, I think there's a punt I like a little bit better tomorrow.
Okay.
But he doesn't play outfield, so maybe that's an outfield punt.
Colorado and Pittsburgh. We got Kyle Freeland versus Jameson Taillon. Kyle Freeland, ground ball pitcher. I don't see a ton of upside in him, but will be interesting to see how he fares tomorrow. Jameson Taillon has pitched actually pretty well this year.
I mean, you have to recognize, obviously, Taillon has missed 5 weeks. He was out. He just got surgery. He had a testicular cancer, unfortunately for him.
Yeah.
He did make 3 rehab starts, so that's a lot more than you usually see. Or I think it was 3. Might have been 2, but still. Didn't look that great in his rehab starts. He had, like you said, he started off the season with those 2 really good starts against Boston and the Cubs. But a guy coming off a 5-week absence, still a young guy, and that being said, against Colorado.
It's cause for concern.
I think I'd rather play Fulton Evans, even though I'm not considering either.
No, absolutely. I don't think I play Taillon, but I'm kind of looking at it from a standpoint of, do I want to stack against him? I don't know. I haven't made up my mind. I think you have bats that are perfectly capable in this lineup. Cargo's cheap at $3K. I mean, he hasn't exactly blown anyone away. Blackman is ridiculously priced at $4,900. Not saying he's not deserving, but that's just a lot of money. I don't know if Colorado's the stack I'm on tomorrow. At first glance, I'm not.
Yeah, I can see it. I mean, again, it's such a small sample size with Taillon, and we've seen flashes of good stuff and flashes of bad stuff. So it's like we don't really know if this guy's going to be good or bad. Obviously, Colorado got some pop. They're not really in a good ballpark to stack, so I could see myself sticking to one-offs if it fits my roster construction, and that's kind of it, you know. And then against the lefty Freeland with his Pittsburgh bats, obviously this lineup's probably gonna get shaken up. It's been getting shook up. I think this catcher is in play if he's going to stay hot, right?
Diaz, yep. I played him everywhere today. He wasn't actually.
He was my play of the day.
Yeah, he wasn't bad. And in the middle of the day when Gary Sanchez hit that home run, I was like, God damn it, here we go. And then Diaz pulled his own weight, man. For his price, I'd say he matched Sanchez. Price to dollar. So there's that. Andrew McCutchen hit a triple and a single today. He's looking good at the plate.
He's really locked in.
Josh Harrison, if he's at the top of that lineup, is interesting. So I do think a Pittsburgh stack could be interesting tomorrow. They've actually they've been swinging the bat well too.
Sometimes they're always like under-owned too, I feel like. Freeland, again, another young pitcher that's shown signs of being good and shown signs of being bad. So kind of a tough game to nail down as far as what we have as far as stats on any of these pitchers and the ballpark. All things considered, I mean, these teams don't play each other much, so it's kind of a tough game to nail down in my opinion.
I agree. We have John Lackey and Jacob deGrom tomorrow. I don't know that the Cubs are the team I want to attack. I feel much safer playing Strasburg and finding a couple value bats, namely Elias Diaz if he plays, right? Talked about Brian Goodwin. I think there's enough value if these guys play Strasburg and be okay with where I'm at. Kyle Schwarber he's down to 2,200. I know it's versus DeGrom, but the dude has actually been heating up, and yet FanDuel drops his price. I'm not understanding why, but he's almost minimum salary.
Yeah, I tweeted something out today, like those last 9 hits have all gone for extra bases. Last 7 hits. He hasn't had a single since May 17th. Home run, home run, home run, double, home run, double, home run. So it's a DFS play right there. I mean,
that's what I'm saying. I could care less.
Especially at 2,200. And I mean, again, if we were talking about this slate 2 weeks ago, I think we'd have been like DeGrom or Strasburg. What do we want to do?
Mm-hmm.
He comes off 2 really poor starts. One that seemingly everybody was on him against Milwaukee, and then he goes to Texas and he walked 5 against Milwaukee, gave up a ton of hits in Texas. So 2 really poor starts from DeGrom, especially at his price. I mean, people that are looking at that are going to be like, oh, no way, I'm just going to go up. So just to me, everything really is telling me everyone's going to be on Strasburg if they're paying up tomorrow, just because of this pitching slate. And then you talk about John Lackey. This dude is donezo, man. 16 home runs this season he's given up. I mean,
he's bad.
I think you just look at all the home run hitters on the Mets, and they're in consideration tomorrow.
Jonas probably
that's
plays.
How I feel.
So I'm with you. Yeah, I mean, is it crazy that I can consider this a game stack, Mike? So I'm looking. Maybe it's only on FanDuel. Let me read off some prices to you. Kyle Schwarber,
Yeah.
2,200. Ian Happ, if he leads off, 2,600. Chris Bryant, 35. Anthony Rizzo, 35. Ben Zobrist, 26. We've
It's a
seen
cheap stack.
we've seen DeGrom get hit before. I'm not saying he's the best person to stack against, but these prices, you could fit a Cub stack with Strasburg tomorrow and be comfortable.
Yeah, I know. I do agree, man. I think, again, I don't want to stack Chicago. Again, obviously, look at the prices on DraftKings. It's like when you're looking where to pay up against DeGrom really isn't the spot, right?
No,
Um,
but FanDuel's a different
I
story.
think
They're not. In fact, they're priced down. And FanDuel,
exactly. I
they've
think
only
Ian Hampson played his price, to
they've
be
only
honest. But
they've only started doing this year, where they're pricing guys down against top pitching.
pitching,
But I don't know. I didn't think the Cubs would be the team to price down, but if they are, I might have to do it, man.
if you look at the offensive numbers though for the Cubs, they scored the third fewest runs over the last 14 days. So that's a cause for concern to me. Bottom 10 in home runs over the last 14 days as well. So it's just a price move, right? It's just they're cheap, they're enticing,
Yeah, I know they're
they
upside.
make the player.
Right.
Right.
Exactly.
But just the prices on DraftKings give me pause. And again, I think all the home run hitters, I think you're going to see a couple home runs. Obviously, off Lackey's giving me no reason to think not. So
Conforto, Bruce,
Duda.
Cespedes should play tomorrow. Duda.
Yeah.
Wilmer Flores has been hot, and he's hitting righties as well. So
Darno, it's been hitting homers if he plays. Again, I don't know if I stack here. I think I try to find the two guys I think hits homers.
yeah,
But you can stack.
I'm with you, man. I think a game stack would be mad contrarian in this game, or on this slate, I should say. I don't see. Maybe the Mets get more ownership than I expect, but I don't see the Cubs getting a ton of ownership versus DeGrom.
I think the Mets will get ownership because of those home run numbers, man.
Yeah.
It's no joke.
Philly and Boston, we have Jared Eichhoff and Rick Porcello. This is another game stack potential. Rick Porcello has been bad this year. And, well, Cesar Hernandez won't play. It'll probably be Odubel leading off again.
Blanco usually was playing for Hernandez, I believe.
Andres Blanco, yeah. You'll probably see Aaron Altier here, and then Howie Kendrick third.
Yeah, so, I mean, Porcello's been bad. So has the Phillies. The Phillies have scored like 2 runs or less, I think, in each of the last 4 games. So, I don't know, man. It's an intriguing spot for Porcello that I think people are going to take second looks at. I don't necessarily think saying I'm going to do it, but I know against the Phillies, this offense is bottom of the barrel in the NL. So I think people look at name. They're going to see name value and see Phillies and put him in a player pool.
See, I'm actually I won't. I don't think I can roster Porcello tomorrow. I know Philly's been bad, but I mean, they're still a major league team. So I mean, they did okay versus Wainwright and the Cardinals today. They put up 5 runs, respectable. Are they the winning GPP stack tomorrow? Probably not. But I think you can find a couple hits here. I look at Herrera. If he leads off again, I really like his spot. He's been hot. You put him in a leadoff spot. That's always a good thing. Altier is down to 2,900 on FanDuel. That is intriguing.
Yeah, that's really cheap.
Cameron Rupp is 2K, legit minimum salary. Freddie Galvis is 2,400. Philly is a mad cheap stack tomorrow. You know what? I actually wouldn't be surprised to see a Philly stack with Strasburg.
Yeah, I think with a DH in this game as well, you probably will see Howie Kendrick.
Yep.
So I know he's been dirt cheap on DraftKings. He's got some pop against Porcello, who obviously gives up the long ball.
Well, Howie's 3,800 on DraftKings tomorrow.
Oh, he's 38 now. He was 3K 2 days ago when I played him. So
he's still 2.8 on FanDuel because they don't adjust prices, so we get that luxury. But
that sucks. Anyway, so you got this is pricing was kind of set up here. You got Darvish at 8,800 against are in Houston, and Rick Porcello at 8,600 against Philly. It's a tough call, right? I mean, Darvish is obviously the better pitcher, looked better, but he's facing one of the best teams, if not the best team in baseball, in a hitter's park. Porcello has not been good, facing one of the worst teams on the slate. It's like, where do you go at that price?
Strasburg.
Again, man, it's going to get tough to get to Strasburg. I mean, I think it's going to be very contrarian paying up for bats tomorrow because everyone's going to go up to Strasburg because there's nobody to pitch tomorrow besides him.
There's nobody that's in as good of a spot, I think we should say. I mean, DeGrom and Darvish are, I don't want to say of equal talent, but they're up there in the same tier as Strasburg, I'd argue.
Yeah, definitely tournament plays that could easily
but spots.
Be a top pitcher. Yeah.
Spots. Nobody has a spot. Strasburg does. So, what about?
That's what I'm saying. So if you're going to be contrarian, everyone's got to punt tomorrow on DraftKings to get to Strasburg. So paying up for bets, I think, is going to be a contrarian strategy that I will try. Again, I'll probably be with the field more. I'm not going to go over or under on Strasburg's ownership. I'll probably be with the field, but I could see myself trying to pay up tomorrow for my bets.
Okay, what about Boston? I think they could be an interesting stack tomorrow against Eichhoff, who's not been good against lefties, namely Mitch Moreland. Jackie Bradley Jr. actually hits lefties a lot better than righties this year, so that's interesting. And then Hanley Ramirez hits righties better than lefties this year. So, and Andrew Benintendi actually at 2,800. Wow, he's 5,100 on DraftKings and he's 2,800 on FanDuel.
Reminds me of the first game of the season. That's what it looked like.
That's
something similar to that.
How is he 5,100 on DraftKings?
I don't know, man.
Well, that's out of the. I don't think that's worth a play at all. But on FanDuel at 2,800, hell yeah.
Yeah, I don't know where they came up with that price. It's not like he's been doing much recently. I was on Moreland for the past, I want to say 4 slates on and off of him, and he's been helping me cash. He's been kind of the bright spot in this lineup. But 4,500 for Moreland. I mean, you're looking at top price first baseman now. Again, you're probably going to be able to pay up over $4.5K on DraftKings to 1 or 2 players if you're paying up for both pitchers. So is Moreland that guy? I just don't think so.
Yeah, I'm with you.
So that's what I'm saying. I mean, if you kind of spread it out and kind of hover around between the 3.5 to 4.5 range and find 2 pitchers in the mid range tomorrow, and I think it's a contrarian strategy on DraftKings.
All right, so Baltimore, Chicago. Luis Garcia might not play. He got injured today. We'll see what happens there. Is Wade Miley in play for you versus Chicago team?
Actually, I'm on the opposite. Chicago has the top WOBA in the league versus lefties. I know I've
hit lefties.
I've touted that before, and it's not worked out. And Wade Miley, man, is just kind of hovering between good and bad start. He's got a walk problem. He's just been super up and down. He's not a young talent anymore. So I'd rather
stack Chicago.
Not a stack, I think.
Bro, Todd Frazier is looking really, really comfortable with the plate right now.
Yeah, but he's also expensive, man. They up his prices. I think, Davidson on a cold streak at 2,900 for a cheap dong is more enticing than Frazier on a hot streak at his price on this slate because of the pitching options.
See, Frazier's only 33 on FanDuel. Avisail Garcia, 31. Jose Abreu is down to 33 on FanDuel. Melky Cabrera is 34. I don't know if I go there. Yolmer Sanchez, 3K. Tim Anderson, 3-1. I think these are intriguing enough prices to throw out Wade Miley. It's going to be hard to. If I have any of Chicago tomorrow, Todd Frazier will be in that lineup. The dude just looks really, really good at the plate right now.
No, that's totally fair. I mean, it's just tough for me. It'll be like, I'm going to pay up in Chicago and pay to Frazier over Abreu. I mean, Abreu's crushed lefties this year, so it is tough.
You know what?
But I think you can, man.
I got to throw this out there because it's very much worth mentioning. Jose Abreu has 10 home runs on the year. Guess how many he has at home, Mike?
0.
He has 0. And he
I
only
did hear
has
that.
9 RBIs at home this year. Jose
It's crazy,
Abreu
man.
has not done anything at home.
Maybe he
So
should move to like a new apartment or something. Maybe I'll send him some stuff on Twitter.
good luck. I mean, I tried tweeting at that ESPN girl. She didn't respond to me. So, but I guess you got to shoot your shot.
Yeah, I mean, he's got to do it. He's got to change his surroundings, man. Get his psyche right.
We'll take him on the Giants. Um, but yeah, I think for that alone, I'd be more inclined to take Matt Davidson for the price.
That's what I was saying. Like, I think you look at DraftKings for a cheap dog. I mean, Davidson's not been that great, man. He's not. But you got a lefty on the mound. This guy, home run or nothing. He's a DFS punt, right?
Yep. And then what about Baltimore against Pelfrey? He's not good, but he's done a good job of limiting damage. Again, he's another guy. He'll literally walk 3 batters in a row to get to the guy he wants to face, and then he'll induce a double play.
Yeah, not a DFS throw at all, but he has not really given up homers. It doesn't look like 5 home runs on the year, so not trying to stack against somebody like that.
Yeah, I mean Baltimore's been really cold too. They'd be a contrarian stack for sure.
Yeah, the prices are nice.
I don't think I'd go there though, personally. Seattle, Minnesota, Yovani Gallardo and Adalberto Mejia. If I'm not
Rematch.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, if I'm not mistaken, these teams just played in Seattle. So
Yeah, walk-off Zunino home run in that game. Zunino hit a home run against Mejia. I believe Sano hit a dong off Gallardo in that game. We always talk about, hitters getting a second chance of seeing these guys throw, and both these guys aren't good. So getting a second chance to see, it's almost like seeing them the 5th and 6th time through the order in the same week, So I like this game, man.
Mitch Haniger's back, Mike.
Yeah, he's back. He's doing well. Doing his thing.
So I like some Haniger, Cano, Cruz, Seager love there. I think Zunino is worth his price at $2,900. Taylor Motter batting lower in the order. He's a nice price on both sides. And then Sano has got to be in play versus Gallardo. Gallardo struggles a ton versus righties. Sano's already taken him deep. This park greatly favors right-handed bats to left-handed bats. So that's worth mentioning. Sano, Dozier, I think it was a good 2-man. I still think you can look at, if Kenny's Vargas and Max Kepler play tomorrow, I think you can still attack Yovani Gallardo with them. And then a guy that is, he hit a home run today, Byron Buxton. He's 2,500 on FanDuel versus a guy that struggles versus righties. Is he in play to you? Because I think he's worth a punt.
So who was the other guy in outfield you said was worth a punt? Would you rather play Buxton over that guy?
I think Buxton has a ton more upside than Goodwin, but Goodwin's 2K, Buxton's 2.5. So if it came down to me changing my entire lineup to get Buxton in, I'd go Goodwin. But
gotcha. Yeah, I'm not in love with it. Again, it's going to come down to roster construction and how much money I have to really play with, Mm-hmm. Dude, man, get this. Mike Zunino is the 3rd highest catcher on this slate. Goes
he's
Sanchez, McCann, Zunino. So, obviously, there's a reason behind that. I don't recommend paying up for Zunino.
Yeah, I don't think you do on DraftKings. On FanDuel,
I think
on FanDuel he'll be 4K when he's cold. By the time they adjust his price, his hot streak will be gone.
Right.
So that's a nice thing.
I think Sano is one of my favorite plays in this slate tomorrow.
Yeah, that's true.
So if you're thinking about like I try to limit my player pool. Again, if I'm paying up for 2 pitchers, I talked about how you're probably going to get 2 guys that are really studs. I think he's kind of one of those 2 guys I want.
For what it's worth, both these bullpens are top notch. Sarcasm. Yeah, very much a joke. Giants just put up 13 runs versus the Twins today.
So a spent bullpen.
Spent bullpen
as
at
well.
That. Yep. They're bad, and I don't expect these pitchers to really give their bullpens a break. Neither of them are aces in their own right. So this could very much be a game stack. And you take them out of Seattle and put them in Minnesota. The park's a little more friendly.
Yeah, right. And again, I mentioned the fact that they just played these pitchers. So the batters just went over the scouting report last week. Not even last week. Yeah, like a couple days ago. Just faced them. So that favors the hitters to me.
Texas and Houston. You got Joe Musgrove making his return, Mike. And then you
A
got
long-awaited return, man. This guy was not supposed to be out this long, so that's concerning to me.
Facts. And then you Darvish. High K upside versus a team. They kind of cooled down a bit, if you can say that. They put up 6 runs again today, so I don't know how cool they are. Maybe
Yuli Gurriel did cool down, that's
yeah.
for sure.
He's as cool as the other side of the pillow, Mike.
Yes, like that, man. Rest in peace. Yeah, man. This is an interesting game as well. I mean, Houston struck out a ton last year. They're not striking at all this year. They played well at home. Altuve, for what it's worth, has some significant home road splits. In a bad way at home. Obviously, that's going to regress. He's going to even out. He's a pro. Springer hit another home run today, just when his price dropped on DraftKings for the slate. So maybe you can buy into that. It's the first time he's under 5K in a while. I think Darvish hectors into that a little bit. But Darvish gives up some bombs. I mean, we've seen time and time again solo home runs get hit off Darvish. So,
interesting stat, Mike, real quick, because I know you mentioned home or home away splits. Now, I mentioned this on the show last night. I really think it is a product of the tear that Houston went on when they started this. They were on the road in Minnesota, right? They put up 40 runs in that 3-game series. They average a run. Maurice's calling. They average a run more on the road than at home.
as a team,
Yeah. But again, I really think it's a product of the fact that they had that enormous hot streak.
well, I'll just say, you look at Altuve's home road splits, it's pretty staggering, man. I mean, you look at just straight fantasy production, he's averaging 12.5 fantasy points per game on the road and 6.5 at home. The average goes from 416 to 240. And that's, 30, that's 62 game split. So
Yeah, no.
that's a pretty staggering number. Against Darvish, I think it makes for a fade at that price.
A Houston stack would be interesting tomorrow. I don't know if I want to attack Darvish as my favorite stack, especially because Houston's not exactly cheap. And then Texas, interesting. I mean, they just played well in Washington. Didn't exactly light up the scoreboard, but played well. Going to Houston, more of a hitter-friendly park than Washington is. So against Musgrove coming off his first start, going to be interesting to see where he is. It is worth mentioning that Houston's bullpen is one of the better ones in the league. So even if he's on a short leash, it's not like you really get a break facing their bullpen.
Truth. That's truth. I will say Beltre's price is nice, especially since he's hit safely in almost, I think, every game since he's been back. I don't know if it's every game, but it's pretty much, man. He's been hot. So
this is one of the times that it's not the case on FanDuel. They're the exact same price on FanDuel and DraftKings, and anytime that's the case, you know he's expensive on FanDuel. So
I always favor righties in this park.
yeah, it's fair. So that short porch. New York and LA, Masahiro Tanaka coming off an extra day's rest. They did that on purpose. Obviously, he pitches much better on an extra day's rest. He gets the Angels, who actually have been swinging the bats really well. Now, I don't know if the Angels are a team you generally stack. They single you to death. They're kind of, remember when we talked about the Royals were that way in a sense, right? Like they're just base hit after base hit after base hit. There's not a ton of power. So I don't know, even I mean, you add to the fact that Tanaka's already on an extra day's rest, I really don't think I stack Angels tomorrow, even with how good they've been versus righties. But it worries me about playing Tanaka.
Yeah, I'll start here. I think from a DraftKings pricing perspective, right? You're going to need a cheap stack tomorrow, and I have a feeling LA might be that stack that people have gravitated to. 12 runs put up today. Tanaka's been terrible. You need to find some salary savings. People love to stack. I could just see it happening. I mean, Cameron Maybin looks locked into the plate. He's walking a ton. He's manufacturing base hits, stealing bags. So that's looked nice. I think
Do you have
Eric
this?
Young
Do you
hit
have
a
the?
home run today.
Yeah, second one. Do you have the stats on Tanaka on an extra day's rest?
Yeah, I posted them in the group earlier. I'd have to pull them up real quick. Hold on.
Josh was just asking, is it a real thing?
So this year, it actually has not been. So last year, it was a thing. And to Girardi and Rothschild's credit, they don't want to make this a precedent. They kind of pressured by the media to do it. They keep saying, they're trying to correct, mechanics. And to be honest with you, man, I really think it's a confidence issue because think about Tanaka, right? He was the dude in Japan. Like, he didn't lose a game. Like, his numbers coming out of Japan were something we've never seen. As far as like his win-loss record, I think he was like 23-2 with like a 1 point something ERA coming out. And now he comes to the Yankees. He's been their ace, right? He has a big of a hiccup last year, rights the ship, and now you're looking at him and he's like awful. So this is the first time you could see like in his professional career where Tanaka's like
shaking,
really battling himself,
Yeah.
And he's not an outspoken guy. You can see he's in his head. So to me, that's kind of what it is. I'll talk about you talk about his career starts. So career starts, there's really nothing that stands out. 3.30 ERA on 4 days rest, 3.33 was 5 days rest, 3.51 on 6 or more. Last season, 3.71 in 14 starts with 4 days rest compared to a 2.41 ERA in 13 starts with an extra day. So staggering numbers last season. It became kind of a media thing. They wanted him to do it. Obviously, they did it enough. 13 out of his, let's do the math here. 13 out of his 33 starts came with an extra day. That's by design, obviously. That doesn't happen on its own. So I could see a similar thing happening.
Can you
another interesting? I want to see the confidence. To me, it's an issue with confidence, right? I mean, they're giving him extra day rest. Everybody knows it. He knows it. Like, they called somebody up to fill the roster spot so that he can have an extra day. You got to feel like you're letting the team down by doing that. So, I want to see it. I want to see a quality start. Can he have one today? I mean, the chances are there. I mean, the dude's a stud. He's just not showing it right now. So, I don't pitch him tomorrow. And then I look at Alex. So I'm looking at Alex Meyer, man. I know this from like a super contrarian perspective. I'm thinking about it because I dug deep on him today. He's a top prospect that started slow and is becoming better and better. He's actually got 2 straight good starts against the Cubs and the Astros, if I believe.
Yeah, he's actually got a 98.
He's got a 98-mile-an-hour fastball, a really nice curveball, and, I mean, coming off a career high in strikeouts at Detroit, I don't know, man. When you look down at the bottom of the barrel here, he seems like a wild card that no one's going to be on.
Well, yeah, I don't think anyone will be. You have so always, right, late game, people don't look that far, and then 2, it's the fucking Yankees who have put up like 800 runs in the last 3 games.
Yeah, they hit. I mean,
the Yankees.
I'm telling you, man, Aaron Judge's fly balls go 400 feet.
The Yankees had more home runs in the series with the Orioles than the Orioles had runs scored. Yankees had 12 home runs. Orioles scored 8 runs in the series.
Yeah, I think it was like a 35-run differential over the last 5 games for the Yankees.
Yankees lead the league in run differential, by the way.
I'm sure. I'm sure they do.
115 run differential in the positive. So I agree with you. No one will be on Meyer.
Yeah, again, it's a completely contrarian. Obviously, these guys can hit the ball over the wall no matter where they are. I mean, it is kind of interesting. I think, you got your flying cross country without a day of rest.
Yep.
Obviously, it was a day game today. So, I mean, they had some extra time. But still, I mean, something I'm going to continue to research. Let's put it that way.
That's fair. See how it plays tomorrow. This is a game I'm going to be following tomorrow, though. I really want to see where where the smart money is going.
For the Yankees?
For the
Angels?
Yankees and Angels game, yep. If I see any sign that there is money going on the Angels, Mike, I will play Alex Meyer in a GPP.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I think it's interesting. Again, on a slate where you're really struggling to find pitching.
Yeah. All right, and then what about Cincy and San Diego? Bronson Arroyo and Luis Perdomo. Since he's going to just move down the 5 a little bit. That's I-5 for those of you that aren't familiar with California.
Yeah.
They're going to go down to San Diego, make that short trip, put up some runs today versus Ryu. I mentioned that game stack was beautiful. Are we looking back there tomorrow, man? Scott Schebler comes to mind again. He's 3,100. Perdomo struggles a little bit versus lefties. He's not giving up fly balls on the year. Elite ground ball pitcher. And actually has some K upside this year. He's striking out 21% of his batters. I don't know if he's the guy to attack in the Spark. For what it's worth, though, something that's interesting and should be mentioned is San Diego is actually above average in terms of home runs for left-handed hitters.
Yeah, I mean, this team is a home run or bust guy. I mean, type of team, in my opinion. So I could see it. Obviously, Bronson Arroyo, that's what he does, man. He gives up long balls. And then you mentioned it, Perdomo, ground ball pitcher in San Diego. Kind of look at the prices on DraftKings. Some of these guys, it's tough. I think I consider Schebler's price in this ballpark.
Yep.
That favors lefties a bit. Obviously, weather's going to play a factor in my opinion. And then I mentioned the punt. It's Jose Pirela to me, man. This dude has just been on fire. 2,300 on DraftKings. I think this is a punt that is going to be chalky tomorrow with
if he leads off again.
Everything.
Yep.
He was a Yankees prospect for a long time, man. I think he made it to the bigs for a little bit during the Steven Drew years. But he's always been someone that I felt like you could rely upon. Line drive hitter. He reminds me of Solarte in a little bit, honestly. He's got speed, line drive hitter type thing. He did have some nice home run numbers in the AAA this season, but it's not really. If you look at his season to season, it really wasn't something that happened a lot. I think Pirela Myers for the price on DraftKings is a nice two-man stack against this Arroyo guy.
Can I give you a contrarian play at that same position on FanDuel? DraftKings, not the same, but on FanDuel, Jose Peraza for
right on the same game.
That's going to be a pivot. Nobody's going to be on Peraza because he's already down there at the bottom of the second base pile. But he's been putting together some nice games, Mike. I really think I wouldn't be surprised. A ground ball pitcher, he's not a guy that hits a ton of fly balls anyway. If he can just put the bat on the ball, he can let his speed do the rest, steal some bases, gets driven in. I really think now Pirela, you could argue has the higher upside, but he's also unproven. Not the Peraza.
It's also gonna be high owned, in my opinion.
That's what I'm saying. So on FanDuel, the pivot, a worthy one, if you're looking to pivot a punt, which is kind of odd to say in itself, but Peraza, I really don't think.
I agree.
I really don't.
It's a price pivot.
Yeah, exactly. Again, DraftKings.
I agree, man.
DraftKings doesn't make sense. It's $1,000 difference, but FanDuel.
A couple other notes I think that's worth mentioning. Zach Cozart was 0 for the entire Dodgers series.
Yep.
His price, which was going to come. I think we both agree on that. Joey Votto, however, is taking a turn for the other way in that Dodgers series. So I think he has 3 of his last 4 games with a home run and multi-hits as well. So
the typical
could be another option.
Man. Dude is an MVP machine.
Yeah, exactly. And he's streaky as well. So could be a guy to ride. Obviously, you're paying for it. So
facts. So yeah, Padres stock will be interesting as well because they are mad cheap and they could be paired with Strasburg. And again, so goes back to this, right? We always say I give the pitcher the advantage, right? In a matchup, I'll always lean towards where the pitcher is. In this case, Arroyo is bad, and so I'm going to continue to lean in that direction and say the Padres might be in a good matchup, even though they're not a great team. They're facing a bad pitcher. And this team is still in the major leagues. They can hit pitches. And if Bronson Arroyo is going to continue to just throw balls down the middle, the team, they made it this far hitting fastballs. I can imagine they can, probably do the same tomorrow.
Yeah, Bronson Arroyo has given up 20 home runs in 12 starts this year. I don't know. I think there's going to be some ownership. Again, we're looking for cheap stacks
That's what
because
I'm
of
saying.
people trying to pay up on DraftKings. I think there's going to be some ownership on San Diego tomorrow.
I
I think,
agree.
again, I think I like that Myers and Perella
Peralta.
two-man stack.
I'm with you.
It's too cheap on DraftKings. I think people are going to be on it too.
So, all right, dude, let's do that thing. Top 3 pitchers you're playing and top 3 you're going to attack.
Okay, I'll attack Bronson Arroyo since we're talking about him. I'm going to attack him. I'm going to attack Alberto Mejia with Seattle, and I'm going to attack John Lackey with the Mets.
Nice. I'm going to attack Alberto as well. I don't know if I go full 4-man there. Probably not my favorite stack. Actually, no, I'm going to switch it. I'm going to attack Gallardo with Minnesota instead. If I was to choose a stack from that game, I'd rather stack Minnesota. A contrarian stack is Philadelphia versus Rick Porcello.
Yeah.
And I'm with you on attacking John Lackey. As far as my pitchers to pitch, I've already made it pretty clear. Strasburg is my number 1 guy. My number 2 guy would actually be probably you, Darvish. I'd rather pitch Darvish over DeGrom. And then I'm going to say for GPP reasons, I'll say Meyer. I'll get on that train right now. That could change, but I'll get on the Meyer train.
Yeah, I feel you, man. I think it's intriguing. I think, obviously, Strasburg's the only comfortable one, right?
Yep.
He's really the only guy who's comfortable. The rest of it comes down to trying to pinpoint the ownership, especially on DraftKings when you need 2 pitchers and pivoting off of it, in my opinion, from a GPP perspective. I think ownership will go to Rick Porcello tomorrow against Philly, so I think I agree Darvish is a nice price pivot off of him. Only $200 more, but again, very risky matchup. So it's going to be intriguing. And then the rest of it is just people that I think could be in play. Obviously, I mentioned Alex Meyer. I think he's definitely could be in play based on him, what he's doing. Obviously, this Yankee bats come in. He sees what they've been doing. It's 21st century, so
I
he's
gotta
going to
mention
be.
something real quick.
Yeah.
If I'm not mistaken, Austin Romine has caught the last couple of Tanaka starts. If that's the case, Meyer becomes even more interesting without one of their hottest bats in the lineup being Gary Sanchez.
I don't know that they do it, man. I know Joe. It's been a big thing in the media that he doesn't want to. He set that precedent. They didn't. Romine didn't catch Tanaka's last start.
But he has
And I don't know.
the past couple before. I'm just saying it's worth watching. I don't know that it happens.
He's caught both Tanaka's good starts. That's why it became a thing. It's never been like a trend. He's been catching everyone. It's like, oh wow, Tanaka pitched good again. Romine was catching. Mm-hmm. Maybe we should do this all the time. Yeah. So yeah, I see what you're saying. I mean, if that's the case, for sure.
It's just worth watching.
Yeah. So I was thinking Meyer could be in play. Another guy that I think could be in play, obviously, as a contrarian perspective, since everyone's going to be on Strasburg, is Mike Fulton-Evans. Again, we talked about pitching well on the road. He does have some K upside, and Washington not been playing that well. So, especially everyone's playing Strasburg, playing the guy in the same game if you're paying down.
Yeah, I'm with you. So, all right. Well, thank you guys again for tuning in. Appreciate the support as always. Look out for the Phenom Academy. For those that are subbed to us, we'll be throwing that out there. If you guys are new to DFS, if you just want a refresher, kind of, I guess it's our teachings of it, right? So, if you're an experienced player, you could have your own. Maybe it'll help just to view how we go about playing DFS. It doesn't necessarily have to be an instructional guide, but more of a, maybe you didn't think of this strategy before, or some facts about DFS that you didn't know, things like that. So I think it'll be helpful for everyone new and experienced. Writing it up actually has helped me a lot. I've been writing it up over the past 2 weeks. Touches on bankroll management, contest selection. It can really help get you back on track. I think we can get lost in kind of the DFS world, right? We get so caught up in the day-to-day, we don't take the time to step back and evaluate where we're at with our performance and whatnot.
Yeah, you got to know where you've been to go where you're going, man. I totally agree, and I think I mean everything we do here at the Phenom is tailored to those who play 5, 10, $20, man. Every night, maybe a couple times a week. We're not really here. Everything we've created isn't tailored to somebody that you're not going to look at our stuff and be like, whoa, what am I looking at, right?
Matt
So
Center,
I think
yeah.
yeah, what am I looking at? Like, oh my God, this is all too confusing. No, it's just a community of people that like playing this for fun. It's everybody's hobby. We all have a good time. We like talking about it, and everything is easy to understand. And so that's what this is going to kind of build upon. It's going to be tailored to you guys, for sure, just like everything else.
And I just want to give a quick shout out to one of our own, Josh Tannery, took down a golf GPP today,
Yes, he
$875.
did.
So if you guys are into golf or you're just looking for an alternative sport, those guys in the Golf Channel are doing an amazing job. We are hoping to have a video up for the U.S. It's the U.S. Open this week, right?
That's correct.
Yeah.
Millie Makers on DraftKings, man.
Yep.
This is the time. If you're into golf, you want to try out the 7-day free trial, this is the time. I'm telling you, we got all of our golf minds ripe off wins, pumped about this field. Big money on DK, at least I know. So trying to get in. I mean, we'll have that video if you like what you see. Maybe it's the time.
Yeah. So I promise you, if you're a part of that golf chat, or even you don't even have to, if you're not even talking, but you're just looking at it, you can learn a lot. These guys know what they're talking about. Graham is an aspiring golfer himself. He's actually been, trying out to make some cuts himself. So the dude knows golf. The rest of the group, Orlando, Scott, Josh, Jeff, these guys. Jeremy as well, helping with projections. So these guys know what they're doing. Coming off a nice win, they will get you set up for the U.S. Open for sure. Jay and Ant did really, really well on NASCAR again. We're working on getting projections out for you guys. They are testing those to fine-tune them.
Mm-hmm.
If we can get those down, there will be a NASCAR optimizer. So for those of you that were with us in basketball, there will be an optimizer for NASCAR if they can get those projections down. Obviously, you can't have an optimizer without accurate projections, so that's the biggest part. Am I missing anything? Oh, also, I just want to, one of the new members, Elmer Lee. Dude has, so we were talking the other night, and, we touched on the bankroll management. I was, giving advice on, what contest to enter, 80-20 strategy, things like that. I love it, man. I literally expect a message every night from him. He's coming back, yo, Kyle, awesome job. I won another 25 tonight. This dude's consistently just building bankroll, 25 a night. Playing head-to-heads, cash, a little bit in a GPP. So he's got the strategy down. I love it, man. That's what it's all about.
That's what it's all about. Just about to say that. That's what it's all about, man. Yeah, NASCAR guys are killing it, man. We got MMA picks in the
That's right.
In the group. Golf show hopefully this week. Obviously, they've nailed down the stats for each course. So
Absolutely,
it's a lot of fun, man. Been making money on many sports.
WNBA with Ant. Can't forget that. Ant is killing the WNBA.
We got so much going on, man.
So we're working on football already. The goal is to come out with like a season long fantasy league preview for those of you that do that. I think that's probably the biggest season long league, and plenty DFS players play season long. Hard to kind of get into DFS breakdowns yet, but we can start to talk about football from a fantasy perspective. And that can help give insight on potential DFS plays and kind of who to look for as the season goes on.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And there's a website around the corner. Like, I don't know, man. We have no lives, obviously.
This is our life.
There's a lot going on right now. It's all good, though. We got it. We're winning money in all these sports. We got it covered. Everything is fun. It's a good time to be a part of the Phenom, guys. Come in and show some love.
Yes, sir. So, all right, guys, we'll have a wonderful night or day, depending on when you're listening. Make it a profitable Monday. We'll be in River most of the day, chopping it up, helping you guys with any picks and questions you guys have. So make sure to hit us up.
Member-only lock show as well.
Yes, sir. We'll have that about 2 o'clock tomorrow. So look forward to that, and we'll get you our solidified picks and stacks. And I'll come to you guys with where I'm at with any Vegas news. As you guys know, I'm finding that a profitable strategy. So have a wonderful night again, guys. Make it a profitable Monday.